In March 2002, on the northeast coast of England, a tragedy unfolded that looked painfully familiar. A man named John Darwin went out to sea in a canoe and never came back. The weather was rough, the water was cold. Search teams, coast guards, and volunteers combed the shoreline and the sea. His canoe was found smashed against the rocks. There was no sign of John Darwin himself. The conclusion came quickly. Another man lost to the sea, another accident. Another body never recovered. To everyone around him, the story made sense. His wife and Darwin became a grieving widow. Their sons believed their father was dead. Neighbors brought condolences. Friends offered support. The house fell quiet. The official record closed the case. John Darwin was declared dead, but John Darwin was not dead. What no one knew was that this was not an accident. It was a plan. In the months before his disappearance, Darwin was drowning in debt, failed business ventures, financial pressure, the fear of bankruptcy, the fear of losing everything. To him, the situation felt hopeless. And in that desperation, he made a decision that would destroy his life in a way he could never fully predict. He decided that it would be easier to be dead than to face what was coming. He chose a canoe because accidents at sea are difficult to prove. He knew bodies are often never found. He knew the sea could erase him. That morning, he went out not to die, but to disappear. He staged the scene. He destroyed the canoe. And then, instead of vanishing forever, he stepped quietly into a new kind of existence. At first, he hid in the home of a friend, then in a small rented room nearby. Eventually, he did something almost unbelievable. He secretly returned to his own house. His wife knew. She was part of the plan. To the outside world, she was a widow. Inside the house, her dead husband was living in silence, moving carefully, avoiding windows, avoiding neighbors, avoiding any moment that could expose him. For years, John Darwin lived as a ghost in his own life. He could not go outside freely. He could not appear in public. He could not exist on camera. Every sound, every shadow, every unexpected knock on the door carried the risk of total exposure. He was alive, but officially dead, present, but erased. And then the plan went even further, and Darwin began to claim insurance money and government benefits as a widow. Payments that were issued only because John was legally dead. The system paid. The money came in. What started as an escape from debt slowly became large-scale fraud. Every payment made the lie heavier. Every month made the return to normal life more impossible. They were no longer just hiding. They were building a new life on top of a death. After several years of living in secret, John and Anne decided that simply hiding was no longer enough. They wanted more than survival. They wanted a fresh start. A place where no one knew them. A place where their past did not exist. They chose Panama. With the money from insurance and benefits, they bought property. They made plans. They lived openly, but only outside the country. In Panama, they were just another older couple starting a new chapter in the sun. But there was a serious problem. Officially, John Darwin did not exist. Without legal identity, everything was fragile. Travel, property, banking, business. Eventually, John made a dangerous decision. He tried to come back to life. Years after being declared dead, he walked into a police station and claimed he had lost his memory. He said he believed he was John Darwin. He presented himself as a man suffering from amnesia, a victim who had no recollection of his past. For a short time, the story seemed to work. Authorities considered the possibility. The case was reopened, but modern life leaves trails. Financial records, travel data, property ownership, emails, photos, small digital footprints that could not be erased. Then came the mistake that ended everything. Photos from Panama began to surface, ordinary vacation-style photos. John and Anne smiling together, alive, healthy, standing in front of property they had purchased with stolen money. Images that proved not only that John Darwin was alive, but that the entire story had been carefully planned. Once investigators saw those photos, the illusion collapsed. The money trails were followed. The false claims were uncovered. Witnesses came forward. The years of secrecy unraveled quickly. What had taken years to build was destroyed in months. The story that once looked like a miracle, a man returning from the dead, was now exposed as one of the most infamous fraud cases in the country. The court became the final stage of the story. John Darwin and his wife were both found guilty of large-scale fraud, insurance claims, government benefits, property purchases. All of it was presented as evidence. The money they had taken was ruled illegal. They were sentenced to prison. But the damage went far beyond the courtroom. Their sons, who had spent years believing their father had died at sea, learned that he had been alive the entire time, that he had chosen to let them grieve, that he had watched their lives from the shadows. For them, it was not just a crime, it was a betrayal. Public sympathy disappeared overnight. The grieving widow became a fraudster. The tragic accident became a staged performance. There was no way back to normal life. John Darwin had tried to escape his problems by becoming legally dead. In the end, he did not escape anything. He was exposed, he was convicted. And instead of a new life, he received a prison sentence. The story did not end with freedom or reinvention. It ended in a courtroom, with prison doors closing. A man who tried to disappear did not start over. He simply delayed the consequences. And in the end, the sea did not erase him, the truth did.